Hi everyone! Today, by popular demand, we are going to show you how to make silicone molds for coasters or kind of like serving platters or whatever it may be. So we'll show you what you need to make them, which is super simple, and a couple tricks on what works best. So the first thing you need, the most important thing you need, is silicone. You need 100% silicone. This is the only silicone that, as far as I'm concerned, will actually work with resin and won't like stick and will dry properly and everything. The second thing you need is a piece of kind of plastic or whatever. You can use the kind of like paper guards you use at school to give in essays. Anything that's really plasticky that'll let the silicone come off, and that will also allow the resin to peel off without sticking on to it. The third thing that we need is something to trace our molds. So I chose to trace a circle with the cup and then kind of draw over that line with imperfect lines so that I could follow my silicone mold, to pour the mold in this shape, so it would be a kind of imperfect mold. And what this kind of style will give you coasters that are these kinds of shapes. So I really like this look because it's just kind of, it adds character to them. But if you want a more perfect mold, then you'll definitely have to find a different kind of way to make molds or buy some. So after you've traced on your shape, you will put on top of it the plastic paper that you have, and take your silicone and draw the shape. So it's super important to make sure that that first layer is really completely stuck onto the plastic, because if it isn't, then you're putting yourself at risk of letting the resin leak out when you actually pour. So you go all the way around with this. Once you're done this first layer, you can go in for a second layer on top, but you also really have to make sure that this layer is stuck onto the first layer. The reason for this, again, is to prevent any leakage of resin when you're pouring. What can be easier for some people as well is to just wait until the first layer is dry and then pour on your second, because if you press too hard while pouring your second layer of silicone, then you might actually just squish all the silicone down and then you won't have any height to it. So even when being super careful to push down this second layer, you still might get some cracks. Like I have one here that I know is just gonna leak if I don't touch it up. So what you can do after you're finished pouring your silicone is use a toothpick to kind of just try and combine the two layers where you see that there could be leaks going on. So just before it dries, and you just touch up all those areas that you see. So once you're done, I'm gonna let this one dry, but once you're done, they should look like this. You can right away pour some resin in to make a coaster, or you should be able to peel them off like this and change their shape if you want a kind of different shape. Reuse them. Like I've used these ones so many times to make so many different coasters. But when you're putting it back down, just remember to really press down so it sticks onto the plastic before pouring any resin. So the last few things that are really important to remember when you're making these molds is, first, you absolutely have to let the silicone fully dry. So waiting, like, sometimes it says quick dry 30 minutes, but that might not be enough. I personally try and wait 24 hours before using my molds, because if the silicone isn't completely dry, it'll stick to the resin when the resin is drying and it'll just be a total mess. The other thing that's super important to remember is when you're blowing out your bubbles with a torch or like a heat gun from the resin, remember not to leave it on too long, because if the resin gets too hot, then you're going to melt the plastic underneath and it's going to stick onto the resin when it's drying as well. So if you have any other questions or comments, please feel free to comment below, and hope to see you guys soon. Thank you so much for watching. Also, don't forget to go like, follow, share our Instagram page, vertigo.visions with 2 S's at the end, or on Facebook, Vertigo Visions as well. Like, share, comment, help, subscribe. Thanks.